It's the love story between Luis and Tuesday. Because that's what comes through in the book, is a lot of love from both sides. This book has touched me. I know it has touched a lot of you. And I think Luis and Tuesday, being here and speaking, are going to touch you all again. May I introduce Luis and Tuesday?
The book and the touring and the media and additional writing is all a part of really our mission. We are on a mission, and it's very much akin to the mission that I once had in the Army. And yet it's different, because it's a mission of restoration, of healing, of hope, and hopefully informing people of a lot of issues that haven't been discussed with any length or depth in the media, etc. Tuesday, my beloved Tuesday, and Sandra really hit it on the mark when she said it's a love story between. At the end of the day, it's a lot of things. Really, it's a lot of things. The book, but at the end of the day, when you boil it down, the essence of the journey, the journeys in the book, my journey, his journey, our journey. It's the love between two spirits, and they just happen to be, one be human and the other be canine. And it's interesting because the book is thankfully being made into a film, into a movie, and which is a bit surreal, really, because you don't think your life is going to be. I mean, you just you write a book and you're opening yourself up, of course, but you never do you think, well, you're ever going to get that question. So who do you want to play you? You kidding? Who do you want to play you? What's funny is when people say that, when they know, automatically, oh, I want, George Clooney, or whatever, and I laugh because, I've never really thought about that, in any serious, serious way. But the interesting thing about the motion picture in the works is that when the book came out last May, and it hit Hollywood and the entertainment companies and whatnot, they told our agent that they asked a question, and it might amuse you, really, but they asked a question, and it flabbergasted me, but they kept telling our agent, well, where's the love interest? There's no love interest in this, but where's Luis's love interest? And so we had to go back to the agent out there and say, first of all, can you please read the book? And second of all, the love interest is Tuesday and me. So there's a lot of love and relationships in the book. You know, Father Tim, you know, my priest, and all these more of a mentor, but you know, a relationship, an important relationship in my life, and in a manner of speaking, the relationships that I have with my therapist and friends. So the book is, I was sort of speechless when the agent said, well, all of Hollywood is wondering where the love interest is. Can we insert a love interest? You know, I said, well, you know what, you know, we can talk about it, but, you know, I don't have a love interest. I mean, I don't have a human love interest right now. So we'd be inserting fiction into reality, and it's important to get the essence of the book into the film. But then, thankfully, an entertainment group got it, and it's been wonderful working with them to turn 252 pages into, you know, 150 pages screenplay, and how you condense the length of the journey of the book into a 2-hour or less than 2-hour movie. So it's a whole new creative thought process for me, but it's fascinating, and it's definitely going to further the messages of the book, which are really quintessential to me, to us, because we wrote the book to help people. You know, we wrote the book. You know, the subtitle of the book, "A Wounded Warrior and the Golden Retriever Who Saved Him." You know, there are a lot of people who can identify with the book.
We all experience this darkness in our lives, and many of us experience it multiple times. And that trauma takes us to a dark place. That darkness it tests us to our core. For me, the trauma, while an attack in 2003 was the sort of first attack, let's say, that sort of caused a psychological and physical hiccup in my being. I no longer attribute or ascribe singular events to trauma because for those who've been in war and law enforcement and whatnot, being hypervigilant, you know, being constantly on guard is something that is natural and good in combat situations. But when you come out of that situation, you then, you know, your body has physiologically changed. Your mind, your actual brain changes. And they're still trying to really, the mental health community is really still trying to wrap their arms around afflictions of the mind, particularly post-traumatic stress disorder and traumatic brain injury, the most contemporary signature wounds of war, although of course, you know, post-traumatic stress disorder has affected people since the beginning of time. The darkness of dealing with multiple traumas and physical pain led me to, alcoholism. Very deep and dark alcoholism. A liter or more of rum a day. I was holed up in my Brooklyn apartment after getting out of the Army in 2007, and no longer had the immediate support of service members, and so there's sort of a crisis of identity when you transfer out of the Army, and you're in pain. Your health is spiraling down. I loved being a soldier. I didn't love everything I had to do. But I loved the virtues, the values of the military, very much like most soldiers, service members try to live up to the values. Of course, there are bad apples, high and low. But, for the most part, most service members really believe in those values. In the Army, we have our 7 values that spell out leadership: loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. We really try to live up to those values on a daily basis. So trauma affects us, throughout life. And I think how we deal with that trauma will determine the length and depth of the pain, the suffering that comes with it. I talk often a lot about a network of support, needing a network of support, that every person, those with disabilities, those without disabilities, the need for us all to have in our minds to think deliberately about, circles of support. Tuesday is my first being in my network of support. And then, of course, family members, friends, clergy. There are nonprofits, veteran service organizations, clubs, your medical providers, mental health providers. But what I mean is to establish, almost like you see in those those refrigerator magnets that they give out at different centers, where to call. It's almost sort of like, in case of a Luis emergency, Tuesday, it's like a list of people and services that one actually has contact with on at least a semi-regular basis, so that when trauma hits us, we have a network of support. And then, of course, we have to have the courage. And I say courage because, again, we live in a society, and it's even more so in the military, in the veteran community. We live in a society where we are inculcated, instilled with being tough. Big girls don't cry. Boys don't cry, period. And mental health issues are for the other kid's family, somebody else's family. So Tuesday right now, he's thinking, because Tuesday and I are, are. Oh yes, you're so good. He wants to say hi to all of you. And he wants to snuggle, which is a command of his, as many of you know, with at least 3/4 of them. And the other thing is that these high elevations, he's constantly gauging, is Ruiz not paying attention on his leash? Can I dart now? And when I dart, how do I get down? Do I flop down these sort of clumsy stairs, or do I jump off? Come here. You're a good boy. Yes. And it's interestingly Tuesday, and people think, and to some degree, I understand why, but they think that dogs and cats, but for all intents and purposes, for this discussion, dogs they don't understand how perceptive they actually are. Most people don't understand the language and how dogs think. And they think and they remember multidimensionally. For example, when Tuesday smells something, he is smelling. He's also, not only is he trying to identify what it is, but he's also, there's a time attached to that smell, right? Because he can tell how old or new that smell is. So they think differently than we do. Tuesday, as an assistance dog, he is listening to my respirations. He smells my perspiration. He listens to my inflection. He can hear my palpitations. And he really mitigates many of the symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder and some of the traumatic brain injury symptoms. For example, and this happened, started happening about a year after Tuesday, Tuesday and I were partnered. I would get these intense, debilitating migraines. These volcanic migraines that just put you out for a day or a day and a half. And now, he alerts me when he senses that I'm hot, and I won't necessarily even feel symptomatic yet. But it sounds a little gross, but he licks my eyelids and my entire forehead. And I notice that I have an elevated temperature, and I can take something to thwart the onset of the migraine. So he's lessening the frequency of these very debilitating, painful migraines. He wakes me up from nightmares in various ways. He'll paw at me, and sometimes he'll sort of get up. I don't really see him getting up, but I know he has had to get up and then lay down next to my neck. And he'll just sort of, he'll either lick my neck or he'll breathe on my neck, and as sort of a stroking, a gentle, and I tell you, it's pretty remarkable to be, in hell one moment, and happiness is a warm puppy. The next. He does that because he does that because applause and laughter is a cue for him. He knows that of course, the end of all of these talks, right? There's applause of some sort of laughter, and to be, yes, doing good, and so he looks forward to getting to say hello to everyone, and it's just Tuesday's a big love, is what he is. Just a big love, and I think that dogs and cats are guardian angels of the human spirit. I believe that. I believe that. I mean, there are dogs now that can smell cancer.
Yeah.
There are dogs now that, of course, are mitigating people with autism, people with epilepsy, people with diabetes, dogs, therapy dogs that are enhancing healing, the healing process, the grieving process, and the process before death, before passing. I love our therapy dog friends, teams, because their work is so noble. They bring so much comfort to people. And by the way, speaking of book to action, I would love to offer one of a number of suggestions I'll offer. I see the day in the not too distant future when therapy dogs, as most people know, they visit hospitals and retirement homes right now. And they do miraculous work, God's work, bringing smiles to people who are catatonic, and bringing tears to the lonely. And there will come a day, and I look forward to that day, and it's not too far away, when every hospital across the land will have therapy dogs on staff. In-house, right? Not a hard thing to do either. Imagine having several therapy dogs on staff. How much greater comfort and how much greater an ambiance to the hospital, both the staff and the visitors, is that. Tremendous. Tuesday, I was talking a little bit about trust, about how trauma can wreak havoc on trust. Trauma from combat. When you're in a combat zone for a prolonged period of time, you don't trust any. You almost trust no one, including your own service members to some degree, because not because you think they have ulterior motives, but because it's a dangerous environment, and there are negligent discharges that happen. There are people that fall asleep on watch. I mean, things happen. And so going out on patrol, be it in the jungle, be it in Baghdad, you're constantly watching. Constantly on guard for roadside bombs, snipers on the roof. You're in meetings with sheikhs and officials, and it's in the book. I had an old sergeant who, back in the '90s, it was a strange thing for me to digest at the time, but he had this saying. Smile, be nice, but always have a plan to kill everybody in the room. And, he was right. Because often you're in a situation and you don't, even your allies or your supposed allies, You know, there've been, I don't have to tell you all, you've read of many Iraqi and Afghani so-called security forces who've turned around and fired and killed American and other forces. Many. So trust becomes, you know, and so what I'm getting to more directly now is that I would assert that nothing in this world could give me trust back, could instill hope and the hope for trust back than a beloved canine. Because Tuesday and dogs like Tuesday are going to do their job. They have only two jobs. One, to love, and two, to take care of the pack. You know? And I can count on him like I can count on no one else. A friend may come or go. We all know that. And sometimes there are even breakups within families. Not this family. Never. Never. Till death do us part. I mean, that kind of trust is, let me tell you, it's to someone who's really reeling from you know, from the symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder, from social agoraphobia, from not wanting to leave a Brooklyn apartment because you don't trust people out in Brooklyn. You're getting panic attacks. You know, you're getting gray outs where you don't remember where you're walking. You're falling because you have vertigo, because you have a traumatic brain injury that, you know, you can't trust the VA, you know, because the VA isn't necessarily out for your best interests. And there are many issues associated with the VA that we could talk about, and the DOD for that matter. But I can trust Tuesday. You bet you're, you know. And you know what? He can trust me. He knows. He knows. And there's some stories in the book that, you know, he knows that when I threw myself in front of that dog that was attacking him, that we were, you know, that I was his pack member, you know, that I'm his alpha, and that I'm not just a notional alpha, I am an alpha that deserves to be his alpha. And he knows because he, you know, when you're with a being, and it's just amazing, really. I wish, in some ways, the relationship that I have with Tuesday for everyone, because it's an omnipresent relationship. I mean, we're always together, always. In the bathroom, on planes, trains, automobiles, and I know him better than I've ever known anyone. And just as I told you how he listens to my respirations and my inflection, I'm listening to his sighs, his sigh, his S-I-G-H-S, and I'm listening to his, I'm gauging the heat from the temperature of his breath. You know, how warm is he? You know, is he overheated? Is he dehydrated? I'm brushing him twice a day to make sure that not just that he looks good, but that his coat remains clean, so that he doesn't get infections. That I baby wipe his feet, not because I'm obsessive compulsive, but because No, but because actually in the military, particularly in combat arms, you know, you make your feet become hamburger, you know, on long foot marches. So your feet, you learn very quickly that to take care of your feet almost above all else, because you can't go anywhere if your feet are a mess. If your shoulder's out or you pull a muscle, you can still go on. You can take Motrin, you can, you know, dummy cord it somewhere else, you can, you know, but if your feet are gone, forget about it. So I, you know, for Tuesday, and we live in New York City, so, you know, there's a lot of stuff on the ground, you know, and so really baby wiping his paws, his toe pads, was more out of a desire to keep his toe pads and his nails clean, so that when he did scratch himself, you know, that he wouldn't cause an infection or a cyst or something of that nature. And sure enough, he has had, since he's only had one in the entire time I've had him, and the one that he had was very shortly after I got him, and I like to think that I didn't cause it. And the third thing is that the grooming it's really bonding. I mean, not to mention relaxing. I mean, I love to groom Tuesday, and he loves to be groomed. And and he knows that I'm taking care of him. And so he's that much more aware of when I need help, when I need my shoes, you know, when I need his help to balance downstairs, when I need him to remind me to take my medications. Right, Tuesday? Huh?
Thank you all very much.